All right, we are back. It is episode 11, Franchise Mode Calgary Flames 2018. Here we go. So, what in episode 10 it was. We had a big off season begin in episode 10. We finished up simming and found out that the Toronto Maple Leafs have actually won the Stanley Cup for the first time in, I think it was 51 years. The Toronto Maple Leafs are Stanley Cup champions, led by Austin Matthews, by no surprise. So that was pretty exciting for Toronto and Canadian fans to see a Canadian team lift the Stanley Cup for the first time in 23 long years, or excuse me, 25. It was 25 long years. And then we went forward with the draft, and we made our draft pick in the second round. We picked 5 times in that draft. We simmed the rest of the picks, of course, and then we got to the re-signing phase, and that's where things really got interesting. So, if you watched episode 10, you'll notice, or you'll have seen that we had signed some players, and I'll go into contracts here. We had signed some of our players that we wanted to get done, but the big ones we wanted to get done, there was 2 of them, and they both denied wanting to come back to Calgary and sign in Calgary. So what I'm going to do here first is we'll just quickly catch up to where we were. We're going to try and get through this episode too. The last episode was almost 60 minutes again, so I really want to try and cut down that time if we can. But here's the players that we did get signed. So I'm actually going to mark this down at the same time. We signed what is that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 players, all to a 2-year contract. So the big one that we started off with was Mark Jankowski. We signed Jankowski to a 2-year contract, averaging 2.025. So I'm just writing that down. So that's a good deal for us. The thing is, as Jankowski is going to really grow into a third-line center. So for us, that's a good contract because it's a bridge contract. We can kind of see what he's going to grow into, what type of a player, a centerman he's going to become. He's listed as a medium top 6 forward, and he's 77 overall right now. We've got him projected to be in our third line center position. So just taking a look at some of these other ones here, Brett Kulak there, we brought him back for 2 more years at a pretty reasonable contract, making under $1 million a year. Same with Emil Poirier, who is really good for us down there in the AHL. Hunter Shinkarik gets $1 million per year for 2 years, medium top 9, so he still has some room to grow. And Oliver Chillington, we wanted to bring this guy back, medium top 6 defenseman there. So yeah, so those are the guys we got done. But there were some big guys that, obviously, like I mentioned, didn't get done. 2 of them, and it's obviously 2 of our biggest players in our top 6 forward group, Michael Backlund and James the Real Deal Neal. Now, Michael Backlund is our second-line centerman. He is projected to be our second-line centerman for a long time. He really gives us very, very good depth on that second line behind Monahan, Gaudreau, and Neal. His line really, with him and Kachuk and Frolik, have really been solid for a lot of years. So there's a ton of reasons why we want to bring back Michael Backlund. He's one of the most underrated two-way centermen in the league, and obviously he is asking for quite a bit of money. Now, in terms of James Neal, this is a guy that we paid a second-round pick. We paid our second-round picks, in 2019, prospects Morgan Klimchuk and Brett Polak, and then goaltender Eddie Lack. So, in a way, we gave up quite a bit for this guy, so we definitely want to continue to bring him back. But both of these guys, in the last episode, we tried to sign both of these guys multiple times, and we gave them a lot of money, and they denied it. So, I was thinking in between episodes here of an actual insane plan, and I'll get to that in a second. But before I do, I think we want to finish up by looking through our UFA. So we're 2 weeks away from July 1. Anybody on this list that we do not sign will go automatically to free agency. So I thought we will take a crack at bringing some of these guys back, the guys we want to. So let's start with Kris Versteeg. I wouldn't mind bringing this guy back. He's a 4th-line right winger for us. He wants 3 years at 1.42. So I'm going to give him 3 years at, say, $1.2 million. see if he'll take that. That's not bad. I don't want to really pay $1 million for a fourth liner, but he is a pretty solid. He's listed as a third line player there, but he's a pretty solid fourth line right winger. He provides us a lot of depth there in the bottom six, so wouldn't mind bringing this guy back. He's a leader. He's a good player for us, so try and bring Versteeg back. Matt Bartowski, this was the interesting one. You saw we brought back Brett Kulak. We have Joe Morrow, who we claimed off of waivers back in February. And I think he's a little bit better than Bartowski. So I think what we're actually going to do, and with this upcoming plan here about Neal and Backlund, I'll get to our depth defenseman position in a second. But I think what makes most sense for our team is not to bring Matt Bartowski back. So there's no reason to have him on this list. So let's release him. Let's just try and get this list down. We're going to bring Garnet Hathaway back because this is a guy I want to bring back. He wants 2 years at a pretty reasonable contract, so we'll give him that. Very solid in our AHL there. Just going by potential here of the guys that we can bring back. Matthew Phillips, obviously, we want to bring back, so we're going to bring this guy back. Don't know why I hesitated on that one. We'll bring him back. And Eetu Tuola. I think this is a pretty good player as well for us, so we'll bring him back. Marek Harivik and Lindstrom. That's a tough decision on these two. Let's see here. In Linus Lindstrom, medium AHL top 6. So nothing really there. 20 years of age already at 61. Yeah, I think I'm going to release Lindstrom. Or Lindstrom, whatever you pronounce his name. And Marek Harivik, just because he adds depth to our AHL team, and he's asking just for a 1 year there, we'll bring him back on a 1 year. So not bad. So we lock up everybody in the UFA poll, except for the guys we obviously released, and except for obviously Michael Backlund and James Neal. That I'll get to in a second. Now, in terms of RFAs, we still have quite a list of RFAs we want to get through here as well. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to tender quite a few of these guys, and then go from there. So, and then we can make a decision on these depth guys later. So, you know what? We're actually going to tender them all. So, qualify RFA is what I mean by tender. So, we'll tender all of them. Let's see here. Joe Morrow and Dmitry Yaskins. These are the guys that we're talking about. Matt Bartowski was a 76 overall. Joe Morrow is obviously way younger. He's got medium top 6 potential, and he is a 77. So you know what? I'm actually wanting to offer him a contract. And he wants 1 point. Okay, so we'll come back to him. Actually, we'll keep him tendered. Wotherspoon, we will qualify him as well. Madison, we will qualify him as well. And then when we get to some of these guys, Hunter Smith, high AHL. These guys down here, medium AHL. These guys are depth guys in our AHL. So we will qualify these guys as well, I guess. So let's just qualify them all. It doesn't hurt, and then we can come back to them after July 1, after our master plan that I think we might go forward with. So Daniel Pribble, the last one here. Let's just get those guys all qualified there. And then there's a bunch of guys here that we have unsigned. So this was our draft class. We'll go by the top potential. So this is the guy we took first overall was Glenn Kennedy. I believe it was Gavin Kennedy. Yeah, so Gavin Kennedy, not first overall, second round. We took him with our second round pick. He's got medium bottom 6'4". But look at some of these other guys here. These two guys we drafted earlier. But look at this guy right here, this Jones guy. Gabriel Jones. We took him in the 4th round of this year's draft, and we let the computer simulate that, and it turns out that he became a very good player for us. He's got low top 9 potential, so that's not bad. So we will look at signing these guys, but we're not going to do that right now. I want to get to the really important stuff here. All right, so here's the master plan, if you will. So it has to do, obviously, with Backlund and Neal. So as I mentioned, we got these guys locked up. I also wanted to mention that we also signed, I forgot to show it in the other screen, we signed John Gillies to in the last video to a 3-year contract worth $900K per season, so a very reasonable contract for one of our future goalies, who is going to start next year as our full-time NHL backup behind Mike Smith. So we got him up to 3 years as well. So that is good. So anyways, these guys here, as I mentioned, we've offered contracts. As you can see there in the bottom of our screen, our cap space is $12 million currently. Now, this is what I think we're going to do. I think we're going to offer Michael Backlund one more crazy contract. I think we tried offering him as much as $6 million in the last video. I think we'll go and try like let's go 6.3 million. But we really can't go much more than this. So we're going to offer Michael Backlund 6.3 million. We're going to go 4 years, what he wants. We're giving him way more than what he wants. We'll try this. We'll see if this is good enough. So we'll offer him that. James Neal, I think we're just going to extremely overpay to try and keep this guy at $6 million a year for 4 years. So almost identical to what Michael Backlund is getting. Now, we'll see if these guys accept. Here's the plan, I guess. If they don't accept, especially Michael Backlund, who is a centerman, I think we have it's going to be risky, but I think we have a shot at maybe one of the most uncoveted free agents that has ever hit the market. Certainly in recent times, there has never been a player like this to ever hit the free agent market with this type of player that has this type of caliber and is this good. And of course, I'm talking about John Tavares. Now, I've seen other franchise mode videos where they hit free agency on July 1 and John Tavares is there. He does not get a new contract signed with the Islanders. Obviously, it's been talked about for years, since really the last couple of years since his contract talks have really started to come up a lot, both in real life and in this game. I think there's a good chance that John Tavares hits free agency. I think in real life, he does not want to go back to Long Island. I think they've tried it there for many, many years. Tavares has really been a soldier there. He's really waited it out there, but nothing is happening in Long Island. They really can't get past even the second round, if they even make the playoffs on most occasions. With the way that the arenas are going there, there's no guarantee that their future is going to be in Long Island. I think at Tavares, who is, I think, around 30 years of age, I think it's time, he feels it's time for him to move on from Long Island. So, I think both in real life and obviously in this game, I think he hits free agency and becomes the most coveted free agent player out there. We have never had this type of a player hit the market. The closest thing would probably be Steven Stamkos, but of course he got that deal done with the Lightning and stayed in Tampa Bay. But when you think about John Tavares, you think about those type of players. The players that come to mind are the guys like Steven Stamkos. You're talking about number one centermen that are really franchise centermen. So you look at Steven Stamkos, Sidney Crosby would be in that category, Evgeny Malkin. You could put Ovechkin, even though he's not a centerman. Connor McDavid. None of these guys have ever hit free agency. None of those guys, I think, will ever hit free agency. I think they're just too good, and the teams are just not going to let those guys slip. Anze Kopitar may be another one. Brian Getzlaf. These guys are still in their prime. Like a guy like Joe Thornton, you could put in that category, but when he hit free agency, I think he hits it this year. If he's in the free agency this year, he's like also 38, 39 years of age. So he's not the same as compared to the guys that are in the prime. So we've never had a guy like this hit the market. I think for us, if we do not bring Michael Backlund and James Neal back, especially Michael Backlund, I think it is very good of a bet for us to try and go out there and get John Tavares. Now, I don't know what he's going to be asking for, but you saw we have $12 million. Now, if we bring both of these guys back, there's no way we're obviously going after John Tavares. If we bring one of these guys back, preferably James Neal, because Michael Backlund's the centerman, and then we would just replace Backlund with a John Tavares, we could go after him, but we would still have to free up more salary space. I think it's going to be a contract in the double digits for John Tavares, and just to get him locked up. So we have two guys that I mentioned in the last video that I wouldn't mind getting rid of this off season, and both guys are eating up a lot of salary cap. And if we could get their get their salary cap out of Calgary, that would be huge. So one of them is obviously Troy Brouwer. So let's go to Troy Brouwer. Just take a quick look at him. He's making 4.5 a year, and he's got 2 years left on his contract. So if we could take out his 4.5 per year, if we bring back Kris Versteeg, there's no reason we need Troy Brouwer. They're the exact same overall. They're both going to be playing on the fourth line anyway. There's no way we need to be bringing back Troy Brouwer on $4.5 million a year. That would be huge. The other guy who had a pretty bad season for us is Michael Stone. And this is why I was talking about that depth defenseman position. We're bringing back Brett Kulak already, who has a similar overall to Michael Stone. Stone was really not good for us last year. Just taking a look quickly at his stats. Through 82 games for us, he only put up 5 points, but the biggest thing, he was a -8. So he was really not good for us last year. He was our weakest defenseman on our defensive core. And take a look at his contract, $3.5 million for the next 2 years. So really, between Stone there and Brouwer, we could free up quite a bit of salary cap between those two. We could trade them both on July 1 and free up a lot more space, and then use that extra salary cap plus the salary cap that we already have to try and take a shot at John Tavares. I mentioned it in the last video. It's time the Calgary Flames that are pushing for a Stanley Cup now. We're not pushing to make the playoffs. We know we're capable of making it to the playoffs and making it, as deep as the second round. Now we need that push, and we need that push to get to a Stanley Cup. And so it's time the Calgary Flames take a shot at the biggest free agent fish. And what better fish to take a shot at than the biggest one in maybe the last couple of decades to ever hit the market in John Tavares. So, and there's Joe Morrill, 77 overall. Brett Kulak, 76 overall. So, they could easily replace Michael Stone. Not to mention we got Rasmus Andersson, who we think will make a jump to the NHL. So between these three guys, Morrill, Andersson, and Kulak, I'm very comfortable replacing Michael Stone on that third pairing. I wouldn't mind going into free agency, though, and also bringing back just a depth defenseman, maybe like around the 79 mark. That's maybe asking for like $1 million for 1 year, just to bring in, just in case of injury purposes, to have a little bit more insurance. But if we get rid of Michael Stone, which I think we're going to anyway. Same with Troy Brouwer. It just makes a lot of sense. So I think that is going to be the plan. So I think that's what we will do when it comes to our defensemen. So that's the kind of big plan. It's a lot to work at right now. It's quite a risk. If we don't bring back one of these guys, we're taking a shot at trying to get John Tavares. But you're going to overpay anyway. So would you rather overpay for Michael Backlund, give him like $7 million a year for 4 years, and bring back Michael Backlund, who is an 84 overall and 28 years of age? Or would you rather take a shot at John Tavares, who I believe he's a 90-something, around 30 years of age? So I think if you're going to overpay for a centerman, it's either going to be Backlund or Tavares. I think it makes a lot of sense if we don't bring back Michael Backlund to take a shot at Tavares. I really hope James Neal will accept this. We're really overpaying to keep, James Neal in Calgary. Like I said, we just gave up a lot for him. Plus, if we didn't bring back James Neal, we'd be going to free agency, and I think he might be one of the best right wingers there is anyway on free agency. We'd be going there to get a right winger, so we might just overpay him now instead of having to overpay him in July 1 and compete with other teams. Let's just overpay James Neal now. But in terms of Michael Backlund, if we could bring back Backlund, that's good. But if not, I think we're going to try and take a shot at John Tavares. So there's 2 days left here, so we made all those signings. Let's see who accepts. So there's Kris Versteeg. He has rejected our offer. He wants more money, basically. Let's just see. You have offered me the money I feel I'm worth. And okay, so yeah, we brought down what he was asking for. So we can take one more shot at Kris Versteeg. I don't want to pay him too much more than $1 million. Michael Backlund, there it is. Offer rejected. So we try to pay him $6.3 million. And that's still not enough. So I think that's what we will do. Let's see if we can bring back James Neal, though. And there it is. James the Real Deal Neal is coming back to Calgary. So we overpaid quite a bit. We gave him 4 years at $6 million a year, but he is back. So this is now putting our plan into full effect. I don't think it makes much more sense to try and overpay Michael Backlund any more than 6.3. I mean, we could take one more shot at Backlund, maybe try and give him 6.5. But if he does not take that, I think we go after John Tavares on free agency. So big that we get James Neal back. That's huge for us. Again, you know what? We're overpaying for him, but you know it's going to be worth it. If Milan Lucic can be making $6 million in Edmonton, James Neal, who we are going to pray to find his game back again next season, can be making $6 million as well. So Hrivik has rejected his offer. He wants to hit the free agent market, so fine. Hathaway has accepted. That's huge. Phillips accepted. Tuola accepted. So that's good. So we accepted. Everybody accepted except for Backlund and Versteeg and Hrivik. So we now have 1 day left. So let's go here. Oops. Stop simming. I didn't want to sim that. That was bad. I almost simmed right to free agency. So okay. Go to contracts here. So we have about 6.7 left in salary cap space, but like I said, if we trade both Troy Brouwer and Michael Stone right on July 1, that will free up quite a bit of salary space. So let's just look at our remaining UFAs here. We know all of the RFAs, and this is why when it came to the RFAs, this is why we just tendered them all. Because if we do get lucky enough to get John Tavares, we will figure out what our salary cap looks like after we potentially sign him, and then we can decide who to bring back on this list and for what contract. So really, we have to start with Tavares if that's who we're going to go after. So everybody else is done. These are the 3 guys that are not done. So I think Hrivik, you know what? If you're not going to accept, we will release you. We don't need to bring you back. Backlund, we will. You know what? I want to take a shot at Tavares. You know what? Michael Backlund, 85 overall. Tavares, like I said, in the 90s. You know, if, you know, worst comes to worst, we can still try and overpay for Michael Backlund on July 1. But let's officially make it official. Let's release Michael Backlund. He has now hit free agency, and let's take a shot at John Tavares. We offered Michael Backlund quite a bit. I think we offered him, if you include, I think we offered him 3 times in the resigning phase, and the 2 times before that, maybe even 3. So you know what? We offered him about 5 to 6 different contracts. Since about mid-season, and he has rejected all of them. So it's clear that, you know, in his mind, he thinks he can make more money elsewhere. So you know what? We'll wish him best of luck then as is. In terms of Kris Versteeg, how about one... you know what, though? As a 4th liner, I don't... Okay, I just offered him 1.4. I was going to say I don't want to bring him back, but we'll try this. 1.4 mil as a 4th line. That's quite a bit, but we'll see if maybe that's enough. He is a good depth player for us, you know, and in case of injuries, he could step up onto our 3rd line. So we'll bring him back at that contract. I didn't really want to give him 1.4, but we'll try that. You know, he's a good depth player for us, and like I said, we're going to get rid of Brouwer anyway, so he will replace Brouwer in that. So let's advance to free agency. Here we go. Kris Versteeg has accepted at 1.4 million, so he is coming back again, listed as a 3rd line right winger. That is big for us. So to bring him back, that helps our depth. And so here we go. We are going to hit free agency and take a shot at the biggest player to ever hit the market in recent time in this era, John Tavares. So let's get right to free agency and just see what he is asking. So there he is, number 1 player right now on the market, and there's nobody interested in him yet. Are you kidding me? Michael Backlund is there. Obviously, 2 teams already trying to go after Backlund. I just want to see who those teams are. It is the Islanders and the Sabres. So the Islanders are potentially trying to replace Tavares with Backlund, and we're potentially trying to replace Backlund with Tavares. And there's John Tavares, 92 overall. So here is a shot at the guy that we're potentially trying to get. So just in terms of Michael Backlund, he's actually older than Tavares. I thought he was younger. So Backlund's 29 and he's 85 overall. That obviously means he's not getting any better. He's listed as a second line forward. Listen, Michael Backlund would have been huge if we could bring this guy back. Like an 85 on a second line forward, that would have been perfect. But if we can get this guy, he's 2 years younger. He's that much better. He's 92, so he's like, what, 7 overall better. He's in the 90s. He's obviously listed as a first-line forward. I mean, this guy, all he does is score goals. Let's take a look at what he was last year. I remember he was in the top 5 in points and goals. 47 goals, 92 points. He had a career year last year. So just incredible stuff out of Tavares. I mean, look at some of these numbers. 86 points, 70 points, 66 points, 92 career year. It was a career year in both goals and points. But I mean, this is a guy that's pretty much a lock to hit 30 to 40 goals, 30 to 50 goals, I guess, a season, and hit close to 90 points now. He's obviously in his prime. 27 years of age, obviously in his prime. But like I said, obviously he's like got superstar status. I mean, he would be by far our best player, and it makes a lot of sense to bring John Tavares in if we're not going to bring back Michael Backlund. So there's Cam Atkinson. That's the guy we could have maybe went after if we didn't bring back Versteeg. Neil. They're both 84 overall. So, I mean, I guess this guy would have been cheaper, but you know what? Let's bring back Neil. He was starting to develop chemistry with our team there in the second half. And he actually had a pretty okay playoff push, especially that first round. He was pretty decent. So, it was just a bit of a weak start to his career with Calgary. But we are praying that he can pick it up come his first full season with the Calgary Flames. There's Joe Thornton, as I mentioned. Like I said, Joe Thornton would have been one of those centermen that you would have classified with John Tavares when he was in his prime, but he's 38 years of age and now he's only 84 overall. So when he was in his prime, he was probably a 92 overall as well as Tavares. But there was no way back in whenever that was, like 2007, that Joe Thornton ever would have come close to hitting the market. So what we're seeing with John Tavares right here on the market is a very rare situation. This hardly ever happens. So when it does, you have to take advantage of it. These guys never hit free agency. And to get a superstar like John Tavares in the NHL, he could be the difference in winning a Stanley Cup. This guy could single-handedly push us to the Stanley Cup Finals. He's that good. So, taking a look at him here, he is asking for $8 million a year at 4 years. You know what? That's actually pretty damn good. I thought he was going to be asking for about double digits, like closer to $10 million a year. You know what? Realistically, with what McDavid got, there's no reason this guy couldn't be asking for very similar numbers to what McDavid got. Now, this is just a game. If this was real life, I believe Tavares would be asking for 12 to 14 million on the open market per season. But in this game, they have him asking for 8.7, so pretty much 9 million a year. I have no problem with paying 9 million a year to get John Tavares. And in fact, I think we might even pay more to make sure we lock this guy up. Now, right now, there is no other teams interested in him, but I believe that will change. Now, we have some work to do because we have $6.29 million right now in cap space to spend on free agency. That's obviously not enough to bring back John Tavares, but as I mentioned, if we get right to the trading screen here, why are they putting Giordano on the block? That's weird. If we get right to the trading screen and we get rid of both Troy Brouwer and Michael Stone's contracts, both guys who are not going to fit into our lineup in the future, it just makes a lot of sense. We were going to get rid of Stone and Brouwer to begin with. There they are on our trading block with Giordano. So we were going to get rid of these guys anyway. So why not do it right now? Let's try and package them. That might get us a little bit more back and free up tons, and I mean tons of salary cap space. So we want to go, first of all, right wingers, Troy Brouwer. So there are teams interested in them, which is good. And then we want to go defenseman, and we want to put Michael Stone on there as well. So Anaheim's actually interested in both of these guys. The problem with Anaheim, as you can see on the right screen there, they are over the salary cap. So let's just go backwards for the fun of it. Winnipeg's not interested in both. Washington, Vegas, Vancouver. Nobody really wants Brouwer. Okay, San Jose. San Jose wants both of them, Brouwer and Stone. So again, 4.5 and 3.5 coming off the our salary cap there would be huge. That would be the difference in us being able to take a shot at Tavares. So the Blues obviously want, or the Blues, Sharks obviously want both of these guys. So we do not want to bring back any roster players because we don't want to bring back salary at all. So let's go to draft picks. And let's see if we can. Let's try a fourth. Can we get more? We can get more than a fourth. I don't think they're going to give up more than a fourth, though. So let's try a fourth. Like, I don't think they're going to give up a third. So let's try a fourth and a fifth. A fifth and a fourth. Let's try that. That looks pretty even to me. You know what? That's not bad, considering we're dumping these guys as contracts. That's the main reason of this trade. Like I said, these guys don't fit into our team going forward. You know, we're not really losing anything here. We're just trying to dump their contracts to get at least a fourth and a fifth back. That's really not bad. That's the whole purpose of this trade. So let's see if San Jose will take it. They have rejected. They think it makes sense. They don't think it doesn't make sense to take on Troy Brouwer's contract. So there is a little bit of problem there. So let's try just a fourth. Let's see if they'll take just a fourth for the two. They're still not doing that, so it's because of Brouwer's contract. Let's try just a fifth. See if you guys will just take a fifth. Rejected. So let's try a different team. Pittsburgh wants them, but they can't take them. Philly. Let's see if Philly might be willing. I doubt they'll give us their third, but let's take a shot at third for Brouwer and Stone. Not doing anything there. A lot of teams really don't want to take on Brouwer's contract. That's the problem here. We tried a fourth, and that works. So they almost feel guilty saying it. You know what? We should have tried a fourth and a fifth, but you know what? Who cares? We got a fourth-round pick for dumping Brouwer and Stone's contract in Philly. That's pretty damn good. Like I said, Brouwer is arguably only a fourth-line player, and he will only be a fourth-line player for Philly, and Stone is a third-pairing defenseman, and just didn't have a good season last year, so doesn't make sense to bring either guy back for us. We just freed up a ton of salary cap space, so that is huge. So just marking this down right now to Philly. I keep track of all these trades that we make, so forward, Troy Brouwer, and defenseman Michael Stone. So we free up both of their contracts, and to Calgary, we got a Phillies fourth round pick. So fourth round, and it's their 2019 pick. So that's in this upcoming draft. And we saw how valuable that fourth round pick for us was in this past draft. We actually took our best player in the 2018 draft in the fourth round. So that new feature here in NHL 18 where you can get steals in the later rounds, that is huge. So this fourth round pick is huge for us to get that. So now, that is massive for the Calgary Flames. This is very exciting. We now have the ability to take a shot at John Tavares. And so there he is. And there is our salary cap. So we're back up to 12.6. 12.6 to spend on the open market. And we're going to take a good chunk of that 12.6 and we are going to throw it at John Tavares. So I think it makes sense to do that. Like I said, we can't really do anything else right now. We can't look at bringing in, depth players right now. We can't look at our RFAs until we know how much salary cap space we have to work with. And in order to do that, we have to take our shot at John Tavares. So this is going to be the risky part because we're basically hoping we get this guy. And if we don't, then we're kind of screwed because by the time we sim forward to the point where he just makes his decision, likely all these other guys will be gone as well, including Michael Backlund. So I think this is our panic plan if it doesn't work. If we do not get John Tavares, we panic, we take that 12.6 and we take it to the trade market and we try and make a massive trade. That's just going to suck a lot because, we can try and get one of the... I mean, we could take a shot at, Joe Thornton as well. If he's not signed already, or Stastny. But I would hate to, when we could have either got Backlund or Tavares, to hate to get a guy like Thornton or Stastny. But you know what? Let's not even think that way. Let's hope we can get John Tavares. So I'm just nervous making this pitch to Tavares right now. I couldn't imagine what it's actually like in real life. So he wants 4 years. There, like I said, there's no other teams interested right now, but that's guaranteed to change. It is just opening day. He wants 8.7 for 4 years. He's wanted to test free agency. He doesn't want to go back to Long Island. We're a Canadian market. We're on the verge of winning a Stanley Cup. At least we feel we are. We're definitely a contending team, and we're a Canadian team. He's a Canadian. Maybe this is the right fit for him. It would make a lot of sense for him. I hope he feels that way, but we are going to have to jack this up quite a bit. We are really wanting to land Tavares. So again, he wants 8.7. I want to at least offer him, I'm going to go at least 10 million. 10 million to ensure we get this guy. Like, I don't even know what other teams are going to be offering him, but I want to at least offer him 10 million. That's a lot of money, but again, for John Tavares, I'm just wondering if we should go more than 10 million. 4 years, that's not bad. Again, we are expecting to win the Stanley Cup in the next 4 years. So, with his time as a Calgary Flame, we're hoping that, and in 4 years, he'll be in his 30s. We could still bring him back even then. But we're hoping in the next 10 years to take a shot. We've got all of our other main pieces locked up. Gaudreau, Monahan, everybody else is locked up. We just, this would be that missing piece that could push us over the top. We got the contracts of Brouwer and Stone out of the way. Do we just go 10 million for 4 years? This is such a tough decision. We got what, 12.6 to work with here. I really want to make sure we get this guy. I wanted 10.5. That's a lot of money. I mean, that is a lot of money. He would be highly overpaid. Well, I don't think he'd be overpaid because he is John Tavares, but that's 10.5 is a lot of money. That's not going to be easy. Or do we just go 10 million? I just hate to offer this guy 10 million when we could have got, 10.5. I want to make sure we get this guy. That is a lot of damn fucking money, but we have to make sure we get John Tavares. So let's do it. Let's offer him 4 years, 10.5 a year. If he rejects us, that is like impossible, because unless another team is going to offer more than 10.5 million a year, and I think there might be teams that will. But yeah, so 12.6, I mean, that would leave us with just about 2 million left, $2.1 million left in salary space, and we really don't need to make any other moves except for some depth moves, so that wouldn't be bad for us, really. I mean, we wouldn't be making any more moves this summer. This would be our one and only move of the summer, pretty much. But it would be the biggest move of the summer, by far, arguably the biggest move of maybe the last decade in a summer for any team, and that's bringing in John Tavares. So there is our pitch. There's our offer. Let's pray to the Lord that he takes that offer. The only way we're going to find out is by advancing. So let's advance the day here. So we're now on the 2nd of July, and I just want to see if anybody else is interested in him. Please, nobody else be interested. Please, no. Okay, good. Nobody else besides us, but there's 3 teams on Michael Backlund. There is still 2 teams on Joe Thornton. So just taking a look at that. I'm kind of surprised 2 days in, nobody else is lining up for John Tavares. I thought it would be, teams in the double digits looking for John Tavares. I mean, he is asking for a lot. Very few teams have the ability to even go after him with the type of money. We're lucky that we had salary cap space, plus we freed up a ton of space in the trade of Brouwer and Stone to Philadelphia. So let's go another day here. Let's go to the 3rd. He probably won't make his decision till, maybe the 7th or 8th is what I'm guessing. But let's take a shot here. Okay, so there's another team interested in John Tavares. So this is not good. So let's see who else is interested. View profile. Oh, we can't even see. Okay, so we can't, because we can't offer him a contract. We can't see who else is interested. So this is not good. There is a second unknown team right now that is wanting John Tavares. Who is, Rick Nash has quite a lineup of teams. I just want to take a look quickly. 6 teams, yeah, looking for their services, including his former team, the Columbus Blue Jackets, looking to bring in 34-year-old Rick Nash. Too bad he wasn't a right winger, because we'd be lining up there as well. But we did bring back James Neal, so they're pretty much the same player. Pretty much. Okay, so now I'm really nervous. It's now the 4th of July in the United States, and I'm just really nervous to see what John Tavares has to say, and he still hasn't made his decision. He's really taking his time and fielding all of his offers, and there's 2 of them right now. We are one of them, so I can only pray that the other team did not offer him more than 10.5. And like I said, it makes a lot of sense for him to come to Calgary. I know that's not factored into the decision here in the game, but it really does make a lot of sense for him personally, being a Canadian and being our team, unless it's like the Toronto Maple Leafs that are the other team. offering him a contract, then they would have us beat by far. They just won the damn Stanley Cup. They're his hometown team. I mean, they would have us beat by far. But I don't think they had the salary cap space to do that. So let's advance another day. 5th of July. Come on. Come on. His decision should be coming any time now. I think in the next couple days he will have a decision here. So really nervous. I've never been this nervous before. And there's a third team in there. Oh no, okay. So there's already been some players off the market, including Rick Nash. Michael Backlund has quite the lineup, so Backlund's taken his time. 7 teams are in on Michael Backlund. I just want to take a look here. So yeah, quite a few teams lining up for Michael Backlund there. So good for Backlund. That just means we're also not getting Backlund. Thornton's also off the block as well. So things are really not looking good unless we're able to get John Tavares. But there is a third team now involved. Like, this is really like crunch time now. This is not good. Really nervous. Don't know if we're gonna get him. We did offer him like a bucket load of money though. I just want to see who signed already. So players, picks, and oh no, that's trades. That was our trade there. So signings. Dennis Seinberg to Carolina for 3 years there. Yannick Hansen, Tyler Bozak, Bailey. He was one of the top players there. He goes 3 years to Vegas. Philip Grubauer, Patrick Maroon. So there's Joe Thornton. He goes to Long Island. So the New York Islanders have replaced John Tavares, and it's with Joe Thornton. It's not even close. Like I said, Thornton's in 84, Tavares in 92, but I guess that's the next best thing for them. Rick Nash goes to Detroit, so he denies his former team, but his former team, the Blue Jackets, do get Cam Atkinson back. So Atkinson might have been an RFA. They get him back. Stastny goes to New Jersey, but Rick Nash to Detroit, and Joe Thornton has replaced John Tavares in Long Island. So now let's just hope that John Tavares can replace Michael Backlund in Calgary. Let's just hope that's the case. So his decision, Tavares's, should be in the next 2 days here. Like I said, he's got 3 teams, including us, offering him contracts. So let's just get it over with. Let's just find out our faith. Did we land John Tavares? Let's advance. And there it is! Ladies and gentlemen, number 91 in Calgary. Wow! Woo! There it is. Oh my god. Like a sigh of relief. Just exhale, everybody. John Tavares is a fucking Calgary Flame. Look at that. Woo! Okay, so yeah, obviously the money is what put it over the top. Your cash offer was most generous. I was really quite easy to make my mind up. So sounds like we beat out the other teams by far. Obviously, they probably weren't in the same range of offering him 10.5. The bad thing now, the only bad thing about this is we'll never find out who those other 2 teams were. But we don't fucking care because we just got John Tavares in Calgary. So that is huge. That... Like I said, though, that was 4 years of giving him 10.5 is really going to hurt our salary cap. We have $3 million now left in salary, but we are hoping to win the Stanley Cup in the next 4 years. That's our window anyway. We're not building for the future anymore. We're building for the now. So that's the transition part of this entire franchise mode with the Calgary Flames. Before, in the previous NHL games, you would do franchise mode and you would try to continue to build the Flames for the future and, down the road win the cup. The difference with this one is you're trying to win the cup now. And by doing this with John Tavares in the next 4 years, that gives us our official window to win the cup pretty much in the next 4 years while we have Tavares. Because if you're going to win the Stanley Cup, it's going to be with John Tavares. So, wow. Whew. Okay, so we cannot look at our lines, obviously, and I wish we still could, but just taking a look now at our players. So, by far, John Tavares is obviously our highest rated player, most paid player, and he has all the trade value. I just want to look now at how long is this video running? So this video is running pretty long, so yeah, and I don't want this video to go too long, so I think what we will do is we'll start this in the next video, in episode 12. I really just don't want this one to be close to 60 minutes again, so I know it is probably pretty close to begin with. So I think we'll pick this up in the next video. So we're at July 6th. We have just landed John frickin' Tavares, the biggest, player to ever hit the free agent market in the last how many decades, and he's now a member of the Calgary Flames. This is obviously probably the biggest player they've ever acquired. that they have not drafted, besides maybe Jarome Iginla, but at the time, nobody knew who Jarome Iginla was when he was drafted by Dallas. People knew who he was. They didn't think he was going to be as big as he turned out to be. So since Iginla, this might be the biggest player the Flames have ever picked up that they have not drafted. And he is now Flame. I can't believe that. So, in the next video, we will get through the rest of the offseason. Obviously, now that we've got Tavares, we really don't have any more moves to make. It's all going to be depth moves. We're going to go into our RFAs. We're going to qualify who we think we should bring back that we had tendered. We'll bring them back in our RFA pool, and then we'll maybe take a look and maybe take a shot at a 7th, 8th defenseman on free agency that really doesn't want a lot, maybe under $1 million. But other than that, I think we're locked pretty much in all forward positions. I wouldn't mind adding a depth piece to our forward group, maybe a right winger, but again, with $3 million, we'll have to see what we can work with. But we'll do that all in the next video. We'll get right through that, and we'll get right up to training camp and start our next season that we will have number 91, John Tavares, in the lineup. And I can tell you, with the trade of Troy Brouwer, that frees up an assistant captain, and we already know who that A is going to go to. We obviously have our captain, Mark Giordano, and our assistant captain, Sean Monahan. We probably have a good idea of who's going to get that other A. With all due respect to Johnny Gaudreau, who will eventually get a letter, it's probably going to go to John Tavares. So this is huge. We now have a massive centerpiece to build a Stanley Cup team around. If it wasn't already Gaudreau and Monahan, it's now John Tavares. So this is exciting. We'll pick everything up in episode 12, the rest of the offseason, and get ourselves right up against the 2018-19 NHL season in Calgary.